What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into another episode of My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sleazebomb. Week 1 is in the books, guys. What a crazy week it is. It is time to dive into my start sit-em quarterbacks already heading into week 2 here. My next videos will be running back, wide receivers, tight ends. I'm going to try to get those all out today and then all my rankings out for you guys tomorrow as well, guys. Before we dive into it here, make sure you smash that thumbs up, hit that subscription button. All the support's appreciated. I'll be bringing you fantasy football content to help you dominate all year long. And if you have any questions that does not have to pertain to this video, drop them in the comments. I try to get to every single one of them for you guys. That's one of my goals as well. It will also be pinned in the comments and in the description. If you guys want to join our premium Discord, the Guys FF, we cover everything fantasy football for you. Give us our pick'ems, our DFS Tertiary Plays, and pretty much everything Dynasty, every trade, every roster set, everything you can think of. And then if you guys haven't signed up on drafters.com, shout out to the sponsor. Make sure you use promo code SLEAZE. You do best ball drafts, pick'ems, DFS. My guy, Big Draft Energy, partner on the show, will be live on his show tonight. He got second in the DFS last week, won $750. Shout out to my guy there. And let's take a look at each quarterback that I like for a start sit heading into week 2. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my board. The home team will be at the top to head down to the versus to the away team at the top, home team at the bottom with the versus sign going down to the bottom. Green will be your start, yellow will be your super flex if you need, and red will be a sit-em for me heading into this week. Now we're going to go Thursday night football first here. Started off with the 1-0 Packers versus the 1-0 Commanders. The over-under is 48.5 in this game. They like the points to fly, as do I. But when you're looking at this team here, the thing you have to kind of notice with both these teams last week. So Jordan Love got off to a hot start, and they blew the Lions out, which is exactly what I predicted, exactly what happened, nailed that call there. But he didn't really have to use a lot of pass usage in the second half, right? Because they were ahead controlling the clock in the game. Same kind of situation for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders last week. Went up against Russell Wilson, and they kind of controlled the game the whole time, so he didn't have to use that much. You saw Bill get involved more there as well. Now, when you look at this game, these guys are both going to be starts for me in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks coming off a short week here. And when you're looking at the Commanders, yeah, they were 7th versus the QB last week, giving up 10 points. But again, they played Russell Wilson, right? So I'm not really being like, oh, you know, Commanders defense is that great, because you really didn't do anything there. But on the Packers side, this defense is ferocious, guys. 13 points to Jared Goff, a Super Bowl contending aspirations. Lion team got absolutely mopped out the building. They allowed 225 pass yards, and they were still ahead in the game the whole way, which is what you want to see, which is why I like both these guys as a start here, because I don't think they're going to be in control of the game script of this game where they don't have to pass heavy. I think you're going to have to score. And both these guys are going to be starts for me in a high and point applied total game. Heading down to Cincinnati, the Bengals, 1-0, big win for them over Cleveland last week. Again, facing another 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars. But both these teams, again, kind of like Thursday Night Football, we have to talk about game script, and we have to talk about how those games went. So Trevor Lawrence, I would have liked him as a start in this game, but I saw what happened in week 1, and they kind of pounded the rock out on Panthers, and they couldn't get the passing game going, and the connection with BTJ was lost. So that is concerning already to start. But if you need him as a super flex play, I'm okay with it. When you look at the Bengals, though, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like the game before. They played the Cleveland Browns, right? So right now, the Bengals are coming in versus the quarterback at number 12, allowing 13 points a game, but it was Joe Flacco. But what we have to look at is they gave up 290 yards passing. That is where this defense is going to get absolutely shredded. That was second or third on the week behind the Ravens Bills game and the Chiefs Chargers game. So when I'm looking at this game, you get the Bengals run D was very good. And obviously they trade Tank Bigsby away, so it looks like ETN's going to be the guy. But if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get it going here, I'm going to start to get really, really worried about him. Like, he's been that fringe guy for me. Do I love him or hate him? And he's teetering the wrong way for me right now. He should light up the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is at a 49.5 over-under. It's a very high implied point total, and he should crush this week. But week 1 scared me away, so I'm putting him in yellow. Going down to Joe Burrow. Now, the Bengals get their big win. They got the monkey off their back for a bad start, but they played a very, very tough defense. They held Jamar Chase and T. Higgins under 5 points, which is absolutely crazy. I did not see that coming. And now you're getting the Jacksonville Jaguars, who their defense looks great. They rank 7th versus the quarterback, allowing 10 points, but it was Bryce Young, and Bryce Young on opening day for the last 3 years straight has been the worst quarterback in NFL history. So Do I take these defenses who played very tough matchups in different week one? I do not. I think Joe Burrow is going to absolutely smash. I think this is going to be a high implied point total game here, just like Vegas has at 49.5. And I honestly want to put Trevor Lawrence in green, but week one just scared me away. So I'm starting Burrow, and if you need to super flex Trevor Lawrence, I'm not mad at it. Heading down to the big D, the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones need to fight back and get a win here against the New York Giants. Both these teams are 0-1 coming off last week. Now, this over-under 44.5, so you're already looking at it right there. They already think it's a little lower. So do I. It's going to be a division game. It's going to be a grind-out game. And to be honest, the Cowboys' defense in week one looked a lot better than I thought they would. And the Giants defense we know is nasty, but we know that offense is going to struggle, right? So quarterbacks versus the Giants last week, they gave up 21 points to Jaden Daniels, ranking them right in the middle at 19th. And you're going to get Dak Prescott in the Cowboys offense. It's going to be a very, very tough matchup for that Giants defense again. Cowboys on the other side in week one, they were impressive. I mean, they had a very, very, very tough matchup opening night versus the Eagles. They held, Jalen Hurts to 24 points, so that he hurt him on the ground, but he did not hurt them through the air. But when I'm looking at Russell Wilson, man, when is the time here, right? I mean, we're just waiting to see Jackson Dart get this start. Russell Wilson looked absolutely terrible in week one, and I think his days are numbered. Now, Dak's side, CeeDee Lamb with the drops, that's not going to happen again. He's already hitting the jug machine. He's ready to rock and roll. I think they're going to absolutely fleece the New York Giants here, get back on track. And I think I'm going to say that Dak is going to be a start. I know it's a tough matchup. I know he didn't run much like he used to. He has in his career. He's getting older. He's had a couple injuries. Like you saw him down near the goal line where Dak usually runs that in. They gave it to Javonte Williams and a couple PI calls there. But I'm going to put Dak on the start, and there's no way I'm starting any of the Giants. Let's be serious. The 0-1 division battle between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. Both these teams coming off losses. The Chicago Bears last night on Monday Night Football, man, did they give that game away? Did Caleb look great early and then fall apart late? Jesus, that was rough. Now, when I'm looking at this game here, they got it at 47.5 over-under, right? You saw the Bears defense take massive injuries last night as well, too. So something to think about there with Jared Goff's side. And when I'm looking at Jared Goff, I'm going to put both these quarterbacks as a super flex start, not as a solid redraft start here. So on the Lions side, you saw J.J. McCarthy in the first half literally put up a dud and then drop 3 touchdowns in the second half with a rushing touchdown as well. And now you have Jared Goff at home. Right. So when you're looking at the Chicago Bears, they rank 10th versus 20th versus the quarterback right now, 23rd, allowing the points they give to J.J. McCarthy. I do think the Lions play worse on the road. I think they're going to get right here at home. And I think the Caleb Williams Boo Bears are going to be out in full force after the Bears go 0-2 here versus the Lions. But again, if I'm looking at Caleb Williams, all the weapons they had, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Cole, they didn't even use Colston Loveland at all, really. You saw Cole Kmet get a big catch. DeAndre Swift got a ton of usage. But I just can't say to fully start either one of these guys after what I saw in week one. I'm going to put both of them as if you need a super flex play, you can. But, if anything, I'd start Jared Goff over Caleb Williams this week. The 1-0 Rams are headed down to face the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward in his second start. And this is where we're going to hit the red here, folks. So this game implied point total of 41.5. It right now looks to be close to the lowest on the week compared to the 49ers Saints, but we'll get there in a minute on their game. And now when I look at last week, Matt Stafford, right, against the Texans, tough matchup versus the front. They pulled out the win, very low scoring, ugly game. But you did get to see Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, who are going to be the only starts for me on their team, as solid target options in this game. And Stafford got the win, got out healthy. That's what you want to see. But when you're going up against the Tennessee Titans defense, you got to look at what they did to Bo Nix last week. The Titans ranked 4th versus the quarterback, only giving up 8 points to Bo Nix. And that is Bo Nix. Like, what? He had Evan Ingram, all the hype for all the Broncos. That game, I thought the Broncos would crush them. They did not. The Tennessee Titans defense is for real. But what you have to look at is, I'm a Niner fan, obviously you see behind me. DeAndre Lenore may have got banged up in that game, and he was lights out, and that's a big corner for them to lose if he goes down. That would really help Puka and would really help Stafford. But Stafford is going to be a sit for me in this game. The Titans defense at home is going to be even better than they were on the road. Cam Ward's side. It doesn't get any rougher for this guy, man. Look what happened to C.J. Stroud last week, right? The Rams gave up 8 points. This is not going to be another good matchup for Cam Ward. They're going to get after him. That defensive line and Jared Verse is absolutely nasty. They only gave up 188 yards passing to C.J. Stroud. That's with Nico Collins, Jalen Noel, Christian Kirk was out, Jaden Higgins, and Dalton Schultz. I mean, even Cade Stover looked good, but he looks like his season's kind of over, so not good for him. Both these guys are going to be sits, low implied point total game. I'm staying away from this game. I don't even like it as a super flex start unless you desperately need it. Another 0-1 division battle we're diving into here. The Patriots and Drake May are going to get the Miami Dolphins in Miami, who just got absolutely obliterated by the Colts. Now, when you're looking at Drake May here, the passing game script that they just had last week versus the Raiders is not going to be there every single week. It was absolutely crazy how many passing attempts the Patriots went for in week 1. I did not see that coming in the Raiders game where the Raiders controlled the game in a West Coast game. I thought, West Coast teams that travel east would struggle. So when I'm looking at the Raiders, they gave up 287 passing yards to Drake May. Now you get the Miami Dolphins, who just gave up 272, and the game became a running blowout, control the clock game down the stretch. So Drake May is going to be one of my smash starts this week. I'll dive into way more info on this when I get to my smash start video. But you have to look at the Miami Dolphins. Their entire corners are on IR. They're all depleted. Their defense is absolute shambles. You got Tyreek Hill going nuts. This team is in such disarray. You want to start almost every single player versus the Miami Dolphins at this rate right now, unless they turn it around in week 2. Now, for the Tua side. Now, Tua, I thought he would smash against the Colts. I thought that matchup was great. I definitely missed on that front. And now you're getting the Patriots. Yes, you're going to be at home. Does that give them a little help? Hopefully it does. But when you're looking at the Patriots defense, they ranked 16th versus the quarterback. They gave up 19 to Geno Smith. They gave Trey Tucker hit a bomb. Brock Bowers went out late in that game to help them there as well. But the Patriots really stymied the run for the Oakland Raiders with Gentry last week. And the Dolphins, they have no run game. I mean, Devon Achane's going to be their receiving back. It's going to thrive in the receiving game. You saw Ollie Gordon come in for a little bit, but they fall behind. They're not going to be able to use the running back. It's just going to be a straight pass attack the whole way. Could Tua bounce back? I'm not trusting it at all, and he's even on some of our waiver wires at this point. So when I play in competitive leagues, you look at that. That tells you right there that Tua, no one trusts it. So, I mean, I'm not starting Tua this week, but I'm smashing Drake May as a start. The 49ers, 1-0, baby. Big win over Seattle. I told you guys we're going to get that dub, man. Going up against the Superdome at the New Orleans Saints, and this is the lowest implied point total game of the week, and you really have to keep your eye out here. So Brock Purdy with the shoulder issue, they don't know if he's going to be out there or not. I'm not starting Mac Jones, even if he does. I could put his name up there. I'm not doing that. Let's be serious. It's going to be the CMC show all the way. So we don't even really need to talk about the Saints game here because we don't know if Purdy's going to be out there yet, but I still have Purdy as a super flex start if you do. So, the Saints ranked 19th versus the quarterback. They gave up 21 points last week. And Kyler Murray did it with his legs, did it through the air. It's going to be a different look with Purdy, I think, especially with the limited injury. I'm even scary fringe red with him, even though the matchup is great. I think the 49ers could dominate this game. That's just not biased talking. The Saints look terrible. Spencer Rattler, they're not going to be good all year. We know this. On to the Saints side, Spencer Rattler, I'm not starting either one of these guys, even though he had massive passing attempts, which is what I try to tell you guys in fantasy football all year long, is that Chris Olave is going to see massive volume. Look at Jawan Johnson's volume. I mean, they're going to be passing like crazy because they're not going to run the ball and be ahead and controlling the game script at all. But I'm still not trusting Spencer Rattler or any of these guys. The 49ers were number 2 versus the QB, holding Sam Darnold to 5 points last week. Let's be real. You're not starting these guys. The 1-0 Buffalo Bills are heading into the 0-1 New York Jets. And my goodness, Josh Allen, guys. Is this guy ever going to be a sit? Really? He dropped 24.7 fantasy points in the freaking fourth quarter alone. That would put him at QB8 on the week in 1 quarter. This man is an absolute god. Now, when you're talking about the Jets defense, look what Aaron Rodgers just did to them last week, right? They ranked 27th versus the quarterback. They gave up 33 points to a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers in fantasy football. That is absolutely disgusting. Josh Allen is going to shred this team. On the Jets side, I have to apologize here. I had Justin Fields ranked as my QB6. I got talked into him being a tough matchup versus Steelers. He absolutely shined. He looked absolutely great. The Garrett Wilson connection looked absolutely amazing, which was my favorite stack all year long. And I apologize. I said to sit Justin Fields late in the week. I said to sit Garrett Wilson late in the week. I said to sit Breece Hall late in the week. I thought this Steelers defense with the 3 best corners out there in the league would shine, and Justin Fields, they looked immaculate. So when I'm looking at this game, I'm going to toss out the Bills-Ravens game because obviously that was an 80-point game, probably the game of the year. So when I'm looking at the Bills defense, yeah, they ranked 27th, damn near third last versus the quarterback, but you played Lamar Jackson, right? So the Jets, I feel like, can they stay in this game? No, but I feel like they're going to be enough fantasy points with his legs and how this offense looks to give you 20 plus every single week. And after week 1, man, there's no way I'm sitting any one of these 3 Jets. And again, I apologize. I thought it was a bad matchup, and I absolutely missed versus Steelers last week. Justin Fields looked freaking great. My guys are coming. The 0-1 Seattle Seahawks are headed into the 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, who I told you if Aaron Rodgers stay healthy, they will be a playoff team. But when you look at this game, so this is a 39.5 implied point total game here, and they think it's going to be ugly, as they did last week. I did as well with the Jets. That was the lowest implied point total game with the Jets and Steelers. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely great, but now you're going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense here. And the Seattle Seahawks defense looked absolutely great versus Brock Purdy until the very, very end. They ranked 18th versus the quarterback. They gave up 20 points and 277 yards passing, and they did great on the ground versus CMC as well. Sam Darnold now, and you saw DK Metcalf get peppered with targets. You saw Calvin Austin look great, so that's something to keep an eye on there. Pat Freiermuth and John got some usage as well. I honestly think the Seahawks are going downhill from here, man. But when we're looking at Seattle, Sam Darnold, right? And I told you guys this all year long. Watch out for Kenneth Walker. Watch out for this offensive line because it is going to be bad. And the 49ers absolutely destroyed this offensive line. Now you get the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, who I know the Jets played a lot better and they ran the ball on them. But the Jets have a way better offensive line than Seattle. Let's be freaking real. So Sam Darnold, when you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers game here, so obviously, Justin Fields put up an absolute field day versus Steelers. Sam Darnold does not have those wheels, does not have those legs to, separate the pocket like that. So the Steelers gave up 218 yards passing and 30 fantasy points, but it was done mostly with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson through the ground. So I'm not looking at Sam Darnold at all in this game. He's a sit-em for me. And Aaron Rodgers, super flex start if you need, because he's climbing the board. I had Aaron Rodgers as a sit last week. I had the Garrett Wilson and freaking Justin Fields as well late in the week as sits because of the matchup. So, I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers as climbing up my board, but Sam Darnold, I'm definitely sitting. The 0-1 Browns are headed into the 0-1 Ravens, which is absolutely crazy to think about that game with the Bills, man. That was the game of the year in week 1, which really, really hurts. I don't think that to live up to that game is going to be crazy. Now, when you look at the Brown side here, Joe Flacco going to be a sit for me, although the Ravens were number 1 worst versus the quarterback last week. But you played Josh Allen. You gave up 42 fantasy points. You gave up 394 pass yards, and you let him rush for touchdowns galore. That's one of those superstar games that you just don't even count defensively, but it's always going to show up in the stat sheets, right? So, Jerry Jeudy had a couple PI flags. He could have got some more yards. Harold Phantom looked great. David Njoku were a little worried after their Harold Phantom usage, but I'm not that worried. Their run game is going to be atrocious here. It was atrocious last week. I think the Ravens are pissed about losing that game, and I think they blow them out of the water. The over-under is 44.5, and I think the Ravens are going to score 35. When I look at the Browns, the Ravens side, Zay Flowers look great. Derrick Henry looks like a freight train. The guy looks like Father Time, or you could, like a fine wine. He just gets better with age. 3 runs of 30-plus yards, most in his career in one game at age 31, is absolutely bonkers. Are you ever going to sit Lamar Jackson in fantasy football? No, you are not. The Bills, he got 33 points versus them last week. He's going to be a start every single week. That's common sense there. That's why you paid the premium capital for him. The 1-0 Broncos are headed into Lucas Oil Stadium to face the 1-0 Colts. Get excited, Colts fan. Danny Dimes blew up on the worst defense in the NFL. Now, in this game, when I'm looking at this game here, 42.5 over-under, low implied point total game. Bo Nix may have lost Evan Ingram for a couple weeks. We don't have the official update on that. Cortland Sutton looked, I thought he'd have a worse game in week 1 compared to game script against the Titans, but Titans defense stymied him. So I'm not putting Bo Nix as a smash start this week. The Indianapolis Colts obviously were number 4 versus the QB last week, allowing 8 points to Tua. They did great. It's going to be a different matchup versus the defense the Broncos have and the front that the Broncos have as well. But this reason right here, when I look at Danny Dimes, we're going to move him down right now mid-video. So when you're looking at Danny Dimes here, he blew up for 30-plus fantasy points, vultured 2 touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor at the goal line. but you're getting the Denver Broncos defense, guys. This is the number one defense. It was my number one defense coming in, and they were number one versus the quarterback in week 1, allowing 2 points for Cam Ward. Obviously, it's his first rookie start, only 112 yards passing. Patrick Surtain shadows all over the field. He's going to shadow Michael Pittman all over the field. This is going to be a very, very, very rough game for Danny Dimes here, which is why I said in my video, in the waiver wire video, make sure you don't just go blow your fab on one game hype, because they played the Dolphins are going. Everyone's going to attack the Dolphins all year long in fantasy, DFS, everything, right? Because that defense is terrible. Now you get the number one defense. It's going to be a different look here for Danny Dimes. I'm not starting him versus the Broncos. Do not fall for the 30-point game 1 trap that people do in fantasy football. It is not going to pop this week. The Carolina Panthers, and guys, I have to apologize. I had Bryce Young on a start last week in a plus matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he absolutely pooped the bed. The Jaguars held him to 10 points. It was absolutely terrible. Ted McMillan got going in garbage time. It did not look good, but that's the encouraging kind of part here, is you do get the garbage time kind of look, right? So that will be there for the Panthers. Bryce Young's just got to get it going. Dave Canales, man, that game plan week 1 looked very, very bad. Or maybe it was just Liam Cohen had him dialed up with the Jags. But when you're looking at the Cardinals, so the Cardinals, this game is another one of those games you throw out statistically because we're only 1 week in, and the Cardinals played Spencer Rattler. So they're number 7 versus QB, and they gave up 10 points as well. So both these defenses in the same kind of range here, with Trevor Lawrence playing the Panthers last week. Now, when you look at Kyler Murray, the only thing I'm afraid of here is you got to look what happened last week in the Jags game. So Kyler Murray, yeah, he did drop 20 fantasy points. He did have the rushing ability. But when you play the Panthers, they get ran over by the run. So as you saw last week with ETN, right? And you saw BTJ only get 1 catch. Travis Hunter gets 6 catches. And then Travis Hunter missed that Hail Mary bomb. He would have had an 84-yard touchdown as well. But I'm afraid that it could be more James Conner. Is Kyler Murray still a start for me? Fringe, like right above yellow, because it could be a heavy run game featuring James Conner and Trey Benson in this game. And I will get to that when I talk running backs here. But I'm going to leave Kyler as a start still, and Bryce Young. I missed bad last week 1, so I'm going to put him on a sit here week 2, and I'm not moving him up until I see something better, man. That was rough. The game of the week that we're all waiting for, the Chiefs. We get a rematch of the Chiefs-Eagles dance, baby. So 46.5 over-under. Eagles are headed into Arrowhead Stadium. And so for the Eagles, it was rough last week, man. And I called this in the past game. I called this with A.J. Brown. I called this with Devonta Smith. Now, this game, this is your tell-all game. It is only 1 week, right? So I'm not, victory lapping off 1 week, but I did like what I saw, and I did like the call that I hit on week 1 with the Eagles offense. So the Eagles last week against the Cowboys, right? You saw A.J. Brown do nothing. You saw Devonta Smith do nothing. You saw Dallas Goedert. You saw the too high defense that the Cowboys threw out there the entire game, which the Eagles didn't adapt to offensively. They just kind of chugged and used their defense and won the game. So when I'm looking at this right now, right, you look at the Chiefs, right, and they're going up against the Chiefs, and Justin Herbert just absolutely shredded the Chiefs. 33 fantasy points, 318 yards they gave up as well, and almost 60 yards rushing to him. So Jalen Hurts, if he doesn't open up this passing game in this game, because the Chiefs are very good versus the run, this is your tell-all kind of week 2 will be enough for me to see the Eagles offense if it's stymied again here in a game where they need to be pass heavy and they need to open up this offense. But Jalen Hurts is obviously still a start because the tush push, because the rushing upside. That's how this guy wins fantasy weeks, is pretty much his legs. I mean, yeah, that's what I've been saying for years. So I'm going to keep him as a start again. On the Chiefs side, you're going up against the Eagles defense. The Eagles just number 3 versus the quarterback, held Dak Prescott to 7 points, held him to 188 passing yards as well. But I do expect, CeeDee Lamb, or I guess I can't not say CeeDee Lamb. What am I saying? I do expect Hollywood Brown. Sorry, way off. I was thinking Eagles-Cowboys game, to see a ton of targets again. He got 16 targets last week. We got the Xavier Worthy, terrible injury news for him. We don't know if it's going to be week to week. We don't know if it's season long. We don't know how that shoulder is going to hold up. Travis Kelce ran him over with friendly fire. You've got Rashee Rice down. They're down to Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce is going to be now hyper-focused by every single defense. There's no other weapons out there, really. So Patrick Mahomes, I kind of want to put him as a yellow, super flex start, but he's still the magic man. He can still, any week, drop you 20, regardless of who's out there. He thrives under adversity. And I could honestly see the Chiefs winning this game somehow, even though they're 0-1 at home. You don't want to see the Chiefs go 0-2 with all the injuries they have. The panic button will be really on. But I'm going to put Mahomes and Hurts as a start here, but Mahomes is like a fringe kind of start for me, super flex
Sunday
start.
Night Football, the 0-1 Falcons get to head in and face J.J. McCarthy, who got that big win last night. Love to see that there. This game is 45.5 over under. And when I'm looking at J.J. McCarthy here, we got off to a slow start last night in Chicago. It was his first start. He's at Soldier Field. It's a very tough matchup. And then the Bears defense got kind of banged up in the game, which kind of opened up opportunities. But he got his feet going. You saw the rhythm. You saw it fly there. But you get the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons didn't spend all this draft capital in the first round for their D-line not to be good, for their defense not to be improved. And that showed in week 1 versus Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Baker, found Egbuka for the second touchdown at the end of the game to kind of put a dent in the Falcons defense, point-wise. So they ranked 23rd versus the quarterback. They gave up 27, right? So, you got to look at they only gave up 167 yards passing, though. That's the number you have to look at. Yeah, they gave up the TDs, but the defense was very, very good. The corners are very, very good. The pressure up front is very, very good. And J.J. McCarthy has some rushing upside, which you saw last night with the rushing touchdown. And then you saw him kind of burst out a couple times for a couple runs there as well. So you got to like the weapons. When they get Addison back, I think J.J. McCarthy might go to like a full start for me. But this is a tough matchup. This is a tough game for him here. They're at home, by the way. So this is actually flipped, by the way. But Michael Penix, I'm not starting Michael Penix versus the Brian Flores Vikings defense. You saw what they did to Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, the offensive guru-minded head coach last night. The Bears came out lit, 10 straight completions for Caleb Williams, and what happened? He absolutely got destroyed down the second half. The blitz package is picked up. They were running psycho side swipe motion defenses that were absolutely sick to watch. Michael Penix, especially with the Drake London news of the shoulder, so we got to pay attention to that to see if he's even out there. Darnell Mooney banged his shoulder up as well. They cannot be pass heavy in this game. It's going to be more of a Bijan Tyler Algier game to me, and I do not like Michael Penix in this week. Here comes one of my call of the weeks, baby. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are headed into the Houston Texans, the 1-0 Bucs, the 0-1 Texans. The over-under is 42.5. Now, Baker Mayfield, obviously, like I said last week, it was a very tough matchup for them versus the Falcons, but he found the end zone twice. Emeka Egbuka, Mike Evans had a tough game there as well. Now you get the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans defense, guys, is no joke. They need Tristan Wirfs back on the Bucs line at left tackle very, very bad in this game. That is an update that you're going to need to get to because this Texans front is going to get after Baker Mayfield like crazy. So the Texans last week gave up, 15 points to Matt Stafford, 245 yards passing. It was a neutral game script the whole way and a very tough matchup on both sides of the ball defensively. So Baker Mayfield, I'm going to put as a super flex start, not a smash start that I like this week because I think the Texans are going to bounce back at home here. You're going to see the defense fly around, and it's going to be more of a grunge type game like the Atlanta game was as well. Now, CJ Stroud, this is going to be one of my calls of the week here. One of my smash starts that is way down on the board because the Texans, as you saw last week, they have no run game, period. I mean, it's going to be anemic. Nick Chubb still got 60 yards. The game was close the whole way. It was a grunge game. They couldn't get anything going. Their offensive line is terrible. But where does Tampa thrive at on defense? Versus the run, which the Texans have no run. They're going to know this coming in. What did Tampa give up last week? 298 passing yards. That is fourth worst in the NFL. You're going to see Nico Collins get loose in this game. Hopefully Christian Kirk will be back out there. You'll see Jaden Higgins with some Jalen Noel packages as well. And I like CJ Stroud to smash this week, and I'm going to rank him a lot higher than others because the matchup is absolutely great for the Houston Texans this week. The 1-0 Chargers, Monday Night Football, AFC West battle between the Chargers and the Raiders, both coming off big wins. And goddamn, Justin Herbert looked the part versus the Chiefs last week in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He absolutely destroyed. And by going to sit him off a game like that, going up against the Raiders, who ranked 15th versus the quarterback, just gave up almost 300 yards passing and 287, which is sixth worth to Drake May last week. Hell no, I am not. Keenan Allen back looks amazing for them. Lab McConkey. You got Quentin Johnson, who exploded, who probably the waiver wire darling tonight. Make sure you check out my waiver wire video to make sure you stay up to date on what to do with that play. And Justin Herbert's going to be a smash start. I mean, he almost had 60 yards rushing as well. He had a 25-yarder called back for holding. He looked 100% like a top 5 quarterback and is going to be a start for me from here on out at this point if the offense stays that pass heavy that they were.
Onto the Raiders side, you're going to going up against the Chargers defense. Patrick Mahomes obviously lost his lost his wide receiver and Xavier Worthy for the game started. The Chargers gave up 27 points to Mahomes, which is 23rd. They gave up 258 freaking yards through the air without Xavier Worthy out there. Do I like Geno Smith as a start, though? Still no. I'm staying away from it. These division Charger Raider games, it's 46.5 over under. They're usually like 23-20, 2017, sluggish, beat them up, AFC West style games here. So I like Herbert because he can give you the rushing upside and the passing offense looked amazing, but I do not like Geno Smith in this game. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. Remember, my running backs, wide receivers, and tight end start sits will all be next. I'll also give you all the stats defensively against you from last week as well. That's going to help you decide on if you want to start these players or not. As always, guys, on your way out, make sure you smash that like and subscribe. All the support's been greatly appreciated, whether you listen on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough. It has been a wild ride, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. If you guys want to check out the Discord as well, that's in the tagged in the comments and in the description of the video. And always, if you guys haven't signed up on drafters.com, make sure you use promo code SLEEZ. It will match your deposit up to $100, and you can draft with us, DFS with us, pick them with us, everything like that as well, guys. And that's it for me. My running back stardom sit-em video will be next. Hope to see you guys in the next video, man. Sleaze Bomb out.